Gesquokst. Good morning. Good morning, Indian country. Good morning to all you natives out there in the inland Northwest. We're here once again. I'm your co host, Margo Hill, and we're here to share with you a little bit about the events that are happening in our region.
Good morning and welcome back. My name is Jeff Ferguson. I am your co-host for Inland Northwest Native News. This is our fourth live stream, and we are excited to be here. One of the things that we want to mention is if you had never been here before, we are covering news and events for 11 tribes of the Inland Northwest, as far east as the Blackfeet in Montana, as far west as the Colvilles, up to the Kootenays and Kalispels, up north and down to the Umatilla, Warm Springs, the Yakima, Colville, Spokanes, Coeur d'Alene's, everybody in between. 11 tribes in the Inland Northwest. We're here to fill that gap that mainstream media so often miss. And that is why we're here, because we got a lot of cool stuff up here with the Interior Salish Columbia Plateau tribes, and we want to share them with you. So that being said, we would like to thank you for tuning in. We know that you have things throughout your day, but we just want to try to make your day a little bit better and give you a little bit of insight as to what's going on a local level, a regional level, and a national level. So, how are you doing this morning, Margo?
I'm doing good. It's Friday. We've made it through the week. It's been a tough week. With COVID, a lot of families are at home. Kids are still trying to do their schoolwork at the house. Parents are working at the house. Hopefully, we all have enough bandwidth to get through. And COVID has really made for some challenging times, but we're making it through.
All right. I see you have a map pulled up that you wanted to share. Are you ready to go in that?
Sure.
Sure. You want to talk a little bit about that? Okay. So go ahead and talk about it, and I'll cut to it when you're ready.
Okay.
So
So part of our work, Jeff and I, we do work to support tribal communities and tribal efforts. So we have been working on the issue of murdered, missing Indigenous women. I do a lot of talks and lectures. I served as the tribal attorney for 10 years, and really understanding the jurisdictional issues that face Indian country. Our law enforcement officers are often put in a tough situation. And it's these federal Indian policies and laws and jurisdictional issues that cause our communities to struggle when it comes to investigations of murdered, missing Indigenous women and men. A lot of our people fall subject to crimes, whether it's drug crimes or homicide, because Indian country is sometimes a no man's zone where you're not sure who law enforcement is supposed to be called. And so I just wanted to share a little bit. A couple weeks ago, Patty Ghosh from the Washington State Patrol, she's the West Side Tribal Liaison, presented some data at the Centennial Accord. So we wanted to share a little bit with that. We have a map that identifies where folks are missing in Native people are missing in Washington State. One of the highest counties is Yakima County. You can see right there towards the bottom center of the map, Yakima County has 32 natives missing. And the idea is that we identify the locations where we're having the most trouble so we can support police and law enforcement to find out and do the investigations of what's happening to our people. So in addition to Yakima County, we have King County. Of course, that's the most populous county, so you would fully expect that would be a large number. We have 20 Native Americans missing there. Very concerning, we have a lot of folks that live on the west side of the mountains that travel back and forth, and so it's concerning that there's a high number there. I have an aunt that lives in Seattle. So we have also 6 in Snohomish County, 7 in Pierce County, and then the other number is Okanagan County. You see we have 8 there in Okanagan County. That's the land base of the Colville Confederated Tribes. So there's a large number. Then here in our own county, we have 4 missing Native Americans.
All right. So this is something that I know you've been working on a lot, and I know there's been a lot of movement over the past couple years towards this, especially within the last year. Can you talk a little bit? I know you've done some work in the mobility patterns. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So tribal people have unique mobility patterns. We go back and forth between our reservations in the city. We have unique mobility patterns in that we go home for ceremonies or for community events or to take care of our family. And so we're back and forth between the city and the reservation. Whatever, if that's the Yakima Reservation, the Nez Perce Reservation, we are highly mobile people. During regular times, we're traveling for basketball or softball tournaments. We're traveling for powwows. We have tribal people that travel clear down to California for powwows on a fairly regular basis. We have tribal seamstress, our women that sew, that go to material shops down in California. Marceline Madera, giving her a shout out, one of our Blackfeet natives locally. She gets her materials from California. So yeah, we move back and forth. There are specific federal Indian policies that caused us to be out in the cities, the relocation, following up the termination, and there's a lot of Native peoples that live in the cities.
Well, if you just look, I'm going to cut back to this map real quick. If you just look at this map, it looks like, with the exception of like the Kalispells, which is up north, Spokane County, it looks like the hot spots are just going from reservation to reservation to reservation. You go up to Okanagan County, that's Colville, Yakima's down there, that's the Yakima Res. Down into Klickitat, you're headed down towards the Warm Springs and Umatilla down there, then all along the coast. All those coastal tribes going up and down I-5 right there, and then going out, you have Grays Harbor, that's out around Whole River, and then if you look up at Clallam County, you have Jamestown, Clallam out there. You've got the Elwha, the lower Elwha out there. There's a couple others over there in Island County, but it just looks like you're going from reservation to reservation. That's kind of crazy, just looking at that.
Yeah, so often there's corridors, whether it's drug corridors that we're trying to, find across drug task force, or there's human trafficking corridors, often follow along the interstates. We have folks that are human traffickers that look for truck stops and rest areas and different things. So we've been working with Department of Transportation. I've actually done a presentation to the Washington State Department of Transportation, trying to educate our transportation officials and make sure they're aware of this. And when you see something, say something. There's Truckers Against Trafficking. There's a lot of 1-800 numbers, and we'll get those posted on the website. So if you see something suspicious, then say something, because you might be protecting somebody's life.
We will get those up on the Facebook page, and then again, we'll leave them down in the comment section. It take us a little bit to round those up, but we'll be sure to get those up.
Okay.
All right, moving right along. We have a story here this is updated on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation land buyback story. Now, the reason I brought this up is we have, it came up pretty cool. I really like the idea of having this come up on PBS. So this was a story that I found on PBS. Native Americans renew decades-long push to reclaim millions of acres in the Black Forest. Now, this story on PBS, I'll leave the link in the description below, but if you watch this is really powerful. There's a lot that goes on to it, or goes on with it, and it's really a good banter back and forth with the guy that's interviewing it and the interview. But just to cover some of the basic stuff that he covers real quick, one of the guys that's real active in that movement is Nick Tilsen. And there's an interview with Nick Tilsen in there, and Fred De Sam Lazaro. I hope I got that right. De Sam Lazaro. He interviews Nick, and he says to him, he says in there, activist Nick Tilsen says that rebuilding begins with the land, millions of acres of Black Hills. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld the tribal claim 40 years ago, but only ordered restitution of about $1.5 billion in today's dollars. Tribal leaders rejected the money. They wanted the land. some of it in private hands, but much of it now owned by the federal government. Tilsen and about 150 others loudly renewed the demand when the president held a rally at Mount Rushmore. So the reason they even went back out was because there was a big rally at Mount Rushmore. And I specifically pulled this story because there was such limited amount of media coverage that was out there. I knew that was happening. I knew there were people going over there, but I kept going through MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and trying to find something on this, and I couldn't find anything on the television, and now PBS has got this story out. So that's one of the big reasons that I put this up. But it goes on to state, demonstrators blocked the road, drawing counter-protesters headed to the Trump rally and exacerbating long simmering tensions between tribal and South Dakota political leaders. 20 people were arrested, but only Tilsen was charged, facing an array of misdemeanor and felonies, including simple assault and robbery for taking a shield from a law enforcement. Prosecutors did not respond to our request, or their request for comment on the charges against Tilsen, who is 38 and regarded nationally as an emerging indigenous leader. His nonprofit raises millions in philanthropic funds and makes grants to indigenous groups and causes, from fighting mining and pipeline interests to starting businesses on Indian lands and taking back the lands they view as their own. So in this video, they show the nonprofit, and they show some of the other organizations affiliated with it. Sam Lazaro goes on and says, he says it's a tiny step towards self-determination for indigenous people, a cause that Nick Tilsen says is particularly timely in these days. Nick Tilsen says, as we're having the racial reckoning, this country will never achieve racial justice unless it makes itself right right with indigenous people. Sam Lazaro says Tilsen has his own reckoning. A judge ruled there was a probable cause for a trial on charges related to the July demonstration. The trial will likely be held this next spring. A petition drive demanding that the charges be dropped has gathered 18,000 signatures so far. So there is movement. Again, I'll leave the link in the description below, but it brings up a lot of different things. I know there's a lot of animosity when it comes to the Black Hills, but this is just one tribe on one reservation. I know you know a lot about the land deals and the differences between treaty and executive tribes and all that, but hearing this, I know you know that there's been movement. I know you know that there was a treaty and that there's all of these things. But what is your insight on this story? It's crazy that it took something for like a Trump rally going out there, but I think this is a powerful movement that can snowball.
So let me just first say that the Black Hills are sacred to the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota people. These are lands that they refused to give up. They were sacred. You know, I grew up with my adopted grandpa, Phil Lane Sr., who talked about their culture and talked about their ceremonies. And so this is, money is not worth the price of our sacred lands. And so folks across Lakota, Nakota, Dakota peoples still maintain that they never gave up the rights to the Black Hills in their treaty. So what the United States government calls as the Sioux Nation negotiated a series of treaties, and they were offered money for the Black Hills. They refused. It was part of the original reservation, but of course gold was discovered, and so there were more non-Indians coming in, settlers coming into the area, and then it was disputed. But the fact is that the Black Hills are sacred to the people, and they would not give them up.
And, I think that this is a really good point that Nick Tilsen says, as we're having the racial reckoning, this country will never achieve racial justice unless it makes itself right with indigenous people. That's a huge point. How can you, it's like trying to make this, trying to make this pie whole, as an entire united country. But we're going to do that with everybody but the indigenous people. We're going to make everybody right but the indigenous people. You can't do that. We should be starting with the indigenous people. How do you feel about that?
Well, if you go back to Vine Deloria and look at his writings in Custer Died for Your Sins, he lays it out. Tribes wanted to hold their land communally. We said, we're a tribe. We don't own land individually. That's not our concept. That's not our worldview. We work together and we hold our lands in common as a tribe, as tribal people. Well, uh, that limited access. The United States government had already taken millions of acres, and so tribes were trying to hang on to their land and hold them in common. Well, more and more settlers were coming up, so the pressure was on, and so the United States government had the Dawes Act, which they were pushing and forcing assimilation on tribal people. They wanted every Indian to own their own 160 acres. So what they did is they took already tribal land, and they broke it up and allotted individually to individual Indians to force assimilation. They wanted us to be farmers and own land. Well, and then the rest was open up for settlement, or settlement by Europeans. 90 million acres went out of tribal ownership during that period because and that's why we have checkerboard reservations. Individual Indians retained the 160 acres. Heads of household, not always females. In some case, like down at the Shoshone-Bannock Reservation, women did in fact get allotment. But the problem was, and then the rest was opened up. They figured we didn't need any more, so it was opened up, and their non-Indians came onto the reservation.
Wow. So it sounds like a pretty common problem.
Yeah, it's across Indian country. We have this problem. That's why we have checkerboard land, because non-Indian, our reservation lands were open. It was reserved for the tribe under treaty, then under allotment, opened up, and then non-Indians came in and took more land. Pennies on the dollar. They didn't pay a reasonable price. It was pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar. Every time I hear that, I think of Cobell. And I'm going to put some numbers together because I was thinking about this last night, and I'm going to try to get this out. That reminds me, real quickly, we're going to be going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. So we had talked this out and decided that we're going to try to make this happen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at, is 8 o'clock working for you?
8 o'clock's working.
8 o'clock's working for both of us, so we're going to try to be out here every morning at 8, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But going back to those numbers, yeah, I was thinking about some of the numbers out there, and when we start looking at what the compensation and what's been fair and equitable to Indian people, I've got some astronomical numbers that I was just kind of running through my head last night, and I'm going to put them together, and it all kind of goes back to the Cobell settlement and some of the things that were in that film about Eloise Cobell. And anyhow, I'll put that together, and that'll be coming up maybe maybe sometime next week. I'll get those numbers together for us. But thank you so much for that insight. There's a lot to land and Indian people, and that's a neat movement. We're going to have to try to keep an eye on that. Moving right along, though. So November was Native American Heritage Month, and this year and every year for the last 6 years, Heritage University, they've been celebrating by honoring 4 Native Americans, elders, who made significant contributions to Indian country, and especially within their community. And one of the people that was honored, and I'm going to read this real quick, and then I'm going to have Margo give some insight. It was Sharon Gowdy. Sharon Gowdy's a really neat lady. I had the opportunity to work with her with AT&I, and shout out to Sharon, man. More power to you. I'm just real happy that they did this, because she has a real positive vibe, real positive person. It was real neat when I got to interview her and do her portraits and stuff. Sharon Gowdy is a dedicated member, and this is coming off the Heritage University's Facebook page. Sharon Gowdy is a dedicated mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and wife of more than 50 years to Pat Gowdy, who is rooted in her Christian faith and traditional religions and commitment to ensure the sovereignty of the Yakama Nation. Her work building the vitality of Yakama Nation programs and enterprises spans more than 50 years and began while she was earning her college degree. She led programs that support tribal members' economic independence. Economic independence. She oversaw the administration of the tribe's law and justice programs and currently manages YN Credit Enterprise. She has a heart for youth and elder services. Through her term on tribal council, she helped lay the groundwork for the revenue-generating businesses run through the Yakama Nation enterprises. She serves on the Elders Board and College Intertribal Relation Board. Her work ensuring sovereignty and the welfare of indigenous people isn't limited to the Yakama Nation. She's spent 21 years serving on the affiliated tribes of Northwest Indians, a consortium of 57 tribes, helping to build policies and initiatives that address tribal sovereignty. And I think that that's just well deserved. She is a neat lady. It was neat to see her at work, and she just the energy that she gives is just powerful. She's so excited to work for Indian country, to work for her people, and for her to get this, I think was really cool. So I'm going to cut to that real quick, and if you would, there's a picture of Sharon. Share with us a little bit about your experience with Sharon.
So Sharon is one of our beautiful Yakima sisters. She's just amazing. When you see her, she's not only a leader at the Yakima Nation with the credit enterprises, helping her people be self-sustaining, helping them get on their feet or buy homes or do all those kind of things. She is the treasurer at Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians. Jeff, as you mentioned, that's the affiliation of 57 tribes in the Northwest. Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and parts of Alaska and California. But Sharon is a true leader. If you go to Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians, you should see her and her partner in crime, Jeannie Louie. They just they run a tight ship. They're looking at AT when they organize at AT&I. It's fun, it's direct, they get business done. Sharon's just amazing, and very rooted in her cultural traditions and knowledge. Holy smokes, I can't say enough good things about Sharon.
All right, that was very exciting to see that. I was really happy. There was another tribute that I saw in here that I want to cover, and it is Davis Washines. So again, Native American Heritage Month, in the honoring at Heritage University, they wrote this real nice piece about him. For the past few weeks, they've introduced honorees, and today, actually this was a couple of days ago, they were honoring Davis Yellowwash Washines. He says he's dedicated his life to protecting the welfare of the Yakima Nation. I'm going to pull up a real quick picture of him. I know I have a picture of him. So,
that's a great picture. Yellowwash, as we call him in Indian country, has just served his people and served the affiliated tribes of Northwest Indians. We really look up and admire Yellowwash.
Yeah, he is just, I got to interview him too. It was really exciting. I got him over at Suquamish, and I think he was wearing that same vest. He looks really good in that. So I'm going to read this real quick. The Yakima people and the rights guaranteed to them by U.S. Yakima Treaty of 1855 is something that he's been working on. He dedicated more than 35 years to ensure the safety of his community as a Yakima tribal police officer, the chief of police, the chief of the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. He worked on many efforts to improve the safety of tribal measures, including the establishment of mandatory seatbelt laws on the Yakima Nation and bringing national attention to the issues of missing and murdered indigenous women. He is a dedicated advocate for protecting Yakima treaty rights and was instrumental in restoring the original spelling of the Yakima name as it is recorded in the U.S. Yakima Treaty of 1855. Congratulations, Yellowwash. Do we have a war hoop for Yellowwash? All right. So congratulations, Davis Washines. That was really cool. And the only reason I noticed that is Davis Washines. Davis Washines posted it on his Facebook page. It was really kind of a cool thing to see. He had a real nice tribute to his dad on there too. So that was really cool to see.
So, over the years, Jeff, we've had the opportunity to work with Yellowwash. Jeff and I have been out on the Yakima Indian Reservation working with tribal youth on traffic safety. We've met with tribal council. We've worked with law enforcement to reduce fatalities on our roadways. And as Jeff outlined in the little short tribute there, Yellowwash has served as tribal law enforcement. He has just done so many amazing things. He served as general counsel representing his people. You go out to the Yakima Nation and you really feel the presence of traditional elders like Yellowwash that fought for the 1855 treaty and believe in what it stands for. The Yakimas went clear up to the Supreme Court on the basic foundations of that treaty, but it's tribal leaders and elders like Yellowwash that made that happen.
Yeah, that is. So Again, that's really cool. We can highlight people like that. That's what we're here for. If you guys have any questions or comments or any story ideas, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. You can message us. We'd be happy to. We have the ability to do Zoom meetings live here. We can do Zoom meetings. We can do Messenger. We can do FaceTime. We can do a bunch of different things. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in the comment section. You can put them in the live feed. What do they call that?
The chat function?
The chat, you could put it in the chats if you want. There's just a lot of good ways that we can interact now with this live feed, and that's why we're here. So moving right along, we have a loss in Indian country today. It was back on 12/2. Tony Gaither passed, and that being said, I'm just going to read this real quick for you. After a fierce battle with COVID-19, the struggle for my dad has finally come to an end. It was not the one we imagined, envisioned, or prayed for at all. Although there were moments of clarity, even drawing and writing by him towards the last hours, his body could not fight off the virus in its entirety. At 6:15 p.m. this evening, my father, Anthony Gaither, passed away. He was already content and at peace with everything before starting his journey to meet the Creator. Tony went without pain in these last moments, peacefully in hospice care. This week he accomplished so much in his compromised state, along with the help of his brothers and cousin. Gratitude is sent to all the healthcare workers who did everything in their power while respecting my dad's wishes to save his life. I'm grateful to them and for all the encouragement, prayers, positive energy sent our way in the last several days by everyone. Thank you all, and please understand that the immediate family may not be available or able to respond to inquiries as we grieve the loss of our beloved father, brother, uncle, cousin, grandfather, and great-grandfather. More news will be sent to relatives privately. So, just wanted to read that out. A loss in Indian country in the arts world. I don't want to dwell on that, but I did want to acknowledge Tony Gaither. So, another one that we had that we lost was, I'll see if I can find a photograph. I thought I had a photo of him. We had, oh gosh, I didn't get a chance. AIM co-founder Eddie Benton. So Eddie, there's an article in Indian Country Today that talks about the loss and the contributions that Eddie made to Indian country, and I will leave that in the comment section below. I apologize for not having that, but I did want to mention that. So I'll leave that article in the comment section below, and we're just going to keep kind of moving along. One of the things that I found that was really a big story for us was this article that was turned into a story. I'll pull this up real quick, if I can do anything real quick.
So one of the things that we think about here at Inland Northwest Native News is we looking at the environment. Tribal people advocate. We're the strongest advocates and ambassadors for the environment. And so Jeff and I have done some videos on water quality. We're also doing work, on other environmental issues. But this is one story that really touched us.
This one, this was over on the coast, but it has a substantial impact on all of us. And I'm just going to cut to this real article. I found this in the Seattle Times, and I want to read some of this. It was really neat. They have a really neat video that they did on it, and I'll post a link below. I don't know for sure whether or not you have to have a subscription to be able to click on that link, but this story is a really good one, and it's about tire dust. So the headline reads, "Tire dust killing coho salmon returning to Puget Sound, new research shows." And so this came out on December 3rd, and I'm just going to read a little bit of this. It starts out and it says, and this article is by Linda V. Mapes. So she's an environmental reporter for the Seattle Times. She did a really good job with this story. It has substantial impact for all of the tributaries that contribute to the Puget Sound area, all the coastal rivers that feed into it. I'm sure the fish are impacted by this. First they circle, then they gasp at the surface of the water. Soon they can't swim, then they die. For decades now, scientists have known something was killing beautiful adult coho salmon as soon as they hit Seattle's urban waters, ready to spawn. They had escaped the orcas. The fishermen traveled thousands of miles only to be mysteriously killed as soon as they finally reached home. In a breakthrough paper published in the December 3rd issue of Science, a team of researchers revealed the culprit behind the death of coho in an estimated 40% of Puget Sound area, a killer so lethal it takes out 40 to 90% of returning coho to some urban streams before they spawn. It's a killer hidden in plain sight. Tires, more specifically a single chemical. It's called quinine, derived from preservatives that help tires last longer. It's antioxidant, is what they call it. Through painstaking analysis and building on years of prior research, the team included research from the Center of Urban Waters in Tacoma, the University of Washington, and Washington State University. They isolated the killer from a witch's brew of some 2,000 chemicals in roadway runoff. The chemical is a globally common tire rubber antioxidant, but when it does its job interacting with ozone in the atmosphere, the chemical transforms to a substance that is highly toxic to coho. Bound up in the rubber, this chemical taints tire wear particles shed by tires onto roads. The tire dust is in roadway runoff that seeps, trickles, and pours into water bodies, including urban streams, every time it rains. The most traffic on the road, the higher the dose. The more traffic on the road, the higher the dose. Good to know, but tough at scale, given how big the problem has turned out to be. Schultz and other team of co-authors led by Blake Feist at the NOAA, Northwest Science Center, documented in their 2017 paper the linked traffic volume on roads and even mapped the scope of the problem across an estimated 40% of Puget Sound country. In 2018, McIntyre, Schultz, Kolodzysh, and scientists linked the coho deaths to tire wear in road runoff. So, yeah, this is something that has had issues. We're one thing that they say in here, with 3.1 billion tires globally produced annually for more than 1.4 billion vehicles, tire wear particles are a daunting pollution problem. The preservative 6-ppd appears to be used in all tires, the scientists noted in the most recent paper, and tire wear particles are likely present in creeks near busy roads across the world. So there also is not today a salmon safe tire on the market. Our treatment for tires to make the tire salmon safe. So so it's all tires on all cars on all roads globally. It's something that's put into every tire that they're manufacturing today, and it's killing our salmon to 40%. You know, they go all the way out to the ocean. They try to make it back, and to lose 40% of them before they make it up the river Waste right there at Puget Sound is kind of crazy.
Jeff, that's a real concerning story. You know, we travel to Washington, D.C., the Academy of Science Transportation Research Board, and this is definitely something that we'll have to put at the top of the priority level, making sure I'll bring it to our Tribal Transportation Research Committee, ABE 30, and make sure that we're pushing salmon-safe tires because, you know, our salmon have enough to deal with, you know, like you said, you know, get past the fishermen, the orcas, this pollution. You know, we've disrupted their natural patterns with the dams and the hydropower. They shouldn't have to swim in toxic water. If we lose any more salmon, we'll see the collapse of the orca population even to further extent. And so, wow, that I have not heard that story, Jeff. That's pretty amazing and pretty intense. And we're going to have to get to work. Indian country, there's your challenge. Get out there. We need salmon-safe tires.
Salmon-safe tires. Holy cow! I can't even imagine trying to tackle that problem. How do you mandate that in countries that don't have any type of environmental protection agency or any type of safety regulations?
Well, we got to start here at home first.
Yeah.
We right here in Washington, you know, we have recent litigation on culverts. Now it's time to get busy on those tires, and we all use them. You know, we're all driving on those tires. Pipuishin, the wrinkly feet. That's our tribal word. That's our native word for tires. Is pipuishin, as we call the car because it describes the tires as wrinkly feet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
little
little native knowledge and language there. That's almost our time, Jeff. Do you have anything else?
I do have one more thing, and I just wanted to do a quick shout out. I saw this, and I'm going to share it real quick. In Seattle, of the 25 most influential people in Seattle of 2020 by Seattle Magazine, they honored the executive director of, and I'm going to see if I can get this pulled up, of the Chief Seattle Club. I thought that was really cool. She has been acknowledged over there, and they've been doing really good work. I'm going to try to pull this up. I thought I had a quote from her. Gosh, I don't know if I made it on there.
So the Chief Seattle Club is an important part of the Seattle community. It's a homeless shelter. It's a community center. It's really a core feature for Native people and Indigenous people in Seattle, Washington. They do powerful stuff, feeding families, helping them get back on their feet, and just being a place that we can go to be safe and to be with our brothers and sisters.
All right, here it is. I'm going to share it with you real quick. Our executive director, Colleen Echo Hawk Yashi, was named in Seattle Magazine as one of the most 25 influential people in Seattle. Native people are suffering at higher rates during the pandemic and are 10 times more likely to experience homelessness in King County. Our work here seems more precious, more important, more vital than ever, Echo Hawk writes. Echo Hawk earlier this year was awarded the Martin Luther King Jr. Medal of Distinguished Service from King County, which recognizes individuals who have answered the question posed by King County. What are you doing for others? What are you doing for others? What a great question, and what a neat article. I'm going to share the link on this. What a neat lady, and that's a neat program. You know, I have Derek, a friend of mine, works over there at the Chief Seattle Club. Shout out to Derek. We appreciate what you guys do, and you know, if you've never had the opportunity to go over there and check out, see what they do, man, they have a beautiful facility. They serve lunches. They have arts and culture classes. They have a gallery up front. They have a big, huge sanctuary that they do smudge in the morning for the homeless indigenous population of Seattle. Every morning they get together and smudge down there. It's beautiful. They do a great job over there. I couldn't find a more fitting person to receive that award, so that's really, really exciting. So did want to share that.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We just appreciate all of those hard workers, those warriors in Indian country, like Sharon Gowdy and Yellow Wash, Davis Washings, and then here our own Echo Hawk. Just across the state, Indian people are working hard to provide opportunities and support other Native people.
Yeah, I know we mentioned before that we are trying to keep this to 30 minutes, and I do apologize for going over today. We had a lot of content. There's a lot of really cool stuff, but that being said, I want to thank my co-host for all of her insight on everything today. She's a wealth of knowledge. We're just honored to have her here and have her insight on everything. She gives us this whole other perspective of things that I just, a lot of times would never see. But that being said, we're going to be looking at coming at you live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. So we'll be back here with all sorts of new content from over the weekend, and we'll have some of the stories. I'll follow up on some of the stories we talked about. Again, we'll leave all the links to the stories in the post on the YouTube channel, so be sure to check out the Facebook page. Once again, thank you for joining us, and have a good weekend.
Have a good day.
All right.